No one ever made it past 7 days. Some quit after one look at the mansion gates. Others lasted a night, maybe two, before walking out with shaking hands and excuses they didn't even believe themselves. The paralyzed millionaire inside those walls had a reputation colder than steel, and everyone said the job broke people. But on a rainy morning when a single dad showed up with tired eyes and a worn jacket, something quietly changed, though no one noticed it yet. And if you stay with this story until the very end, you'll understand why this wasn't just another job, but a turning point that healed lives. If stories like this touch your heart, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more real, emotional stories like this to you. Ethan Cole stood at the gate holding a folded paper with the address smudged by rain. He hadn't slept much. His 6-year-old daughter Lily was still at home with a neighbor, probably eating cereal and asking when Daddy would be back. Ethan had lost his previous job at a warehouse when he kept leaving early to pick Lily up from school. Being a single father meant choosing every day between survival and love usually won even when it hurt. The gate opened slowly, as if testing his patience. A sharply dressed woman led him inside without a smile. "You should know," she said flatly, "no assistant has ever lasted more than a week. Mr. Hawthorne doesn't tolerate mistakes, excuses, or emotions." "That's okay," Ethan replied softly. "I'm not here to be tolerated. I'm here to work." That answer made her pause, just for a second. Victor Hawthorne was once known as a visionary, a man who built an empire from nothing. Then a car accident shattered his spine and whatever warmth he had left. He was confined to a wheelchair, but it wasn't the paralysis that frightened people, it was his voice. Sharp, cutting, and merciless. When Ethan entered the room, Victor didn't look up. "You're late," Victor said. "I'm early," Ethan answered calmly. "Your appointment said 9. It's 8:50. Victor finally looked at him, eyes narrow. "Smart mouth. That won't last." Ethan nodded. "Maybe. But I will." The days that followed were brutal. Victor tested him constantly, spilling drinks on purpose, snapping orders at impossible speeds, accusing him of incompetence. Previous assistants had cried, argued, or stormed out. Ethan did none of that. He cleaned silently, adjusted schedules, and apologized even when he wasn't wrong. At night, he went home exhausted, helping Lily with homework while reheating cheap meals. On the 4th day, Victor deliberately sent Ethan away during a storm, just to see if he'd quit. Ethan returned soaked, holding a folder over his head to keep the documents dry. "Why?" Victor demanded. "Why haven't you left like the rest?" Ethan looked at him, truly looked at him, not the wheelchair, not the anger, but the man trapped inside it. "Because I know what it's like," he said quietly. "To wake up angry at a world that took something from you and didn't ask permission." Victor scoffed. "You know nothing." "My wife died 3 years ago," Ethan continued. "Car accident." One minute she was laughing, the next, she was gone. "I had to learn how to live again, not because I wanted to, but because my daughter needed me." For the first time, Victor had no response. From that moment, things shifted, not dramatically, but subtly. Victor still snapped, still tested him, but now there were moments of silence that weren't hostile. Ethan started reading aloud to him during long evenings, news articles, business reports, sometimes even stories Lily liked. Victor pretended not to listen, yet he corrected Ethan if he skipped a sentence. One night, Victor asked, "Does your daughter ever resent you? For being tired all the time?" Ethan smiled sadly. "Sometimes. But then she hugs me and says, 'It's okay, Daddy. I'll wait.'" That sentence echoed in Victor's mind long after Ethan left. The real breaking point came during the 2nd week. Victor fell ill, feverish and weak. The house staff panicked, but Ethan stayed. He slept on a chair beside Victor's bed, wiping his forehead, speaking softly when nightmares shook him awake. In delirium, Victor whispered things no one had ever heard, regrets, names, apologies that came too late. When Victor woke the next morning, Ethan was still there. "You should have gone home," Victor said hoarsely. "I will," Ethan replied. "After I know you're okay." No assistant had ever chosen him over comfort, over pride, over fear. Weeks turned into months. Victor began trusting Ethan not just with schedules, but with decisions. He even agreed to meet Lily when she visited one afternoon, nervous and clutching a small stuffed bear. Victor expected noise and annoyance. Instead, Lily rolled her bear onto his lap and said, "He can sit with you so you're not lonely." Something inside Victor cracked open. One evening, Victor asked Ethan why he never asked for more money, more benefits, more recognition. Ethan shrugged. "I already have what I need. A job that lets me sleep at night knowing I didn't become someone I hate." Victor stared at him, realizing that despite all his wealth, he had none of that. The final test came unexpectedly. Victor offered Ethan a large sum of money to move abroad with him, leaving Lily behind temporarily with relatives. It was an opportunity that could change Ethan's life forever. Ethan didn't hesitate. "No. Do you know what you're turning down?" Victor snapped. "Yes," Ethan said. "And I'm choosing my daughter anyway." Victor wheeled himself closer, eyes wet with something unfamiliar. "Respect. I spent my whole life choosing money," Victor said quietly. "And it left me alone." That night, Victor rewrote his will. He set up a foundation for single parents, inspired by a man who stayed when everyone else walked away. He offered Ethan not just a job, but a partnership, one that respected his boundaries, his family, and his values. And Ethan stayed. Not because he needed the money, but because sometimes healing comes from helping someone else stand again, even if they never physically can. At the end of it all, Victor Hawthorne finally understood why no assistant ever lasted a week. They weren't failing him. He was failing them. Until a single dad came along and showed him that patience, kindness, and quiet strength could do what anger never could. And maybe that's the real lesson here: the strongest people aren't the ones who demand loyalty, but the ones who earn it. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you believe in quiet resilience again, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Sometimes, the smallest acts of humanity leave the biggest marks, and this story is living proof.